We have a Republican governor here in Massachusetts. I've mentioned him before. His name is Charlie Baker, and he just signed into law a bill giving every resident of Massachusetts the option to vote by mail in the fall and in the primaries leading up to the fall, if indeed that is what we want to do. Now, I have not hidden this from folks since the start of the coronavirus pandemic. I did not vote for Charlie Baker. I'm not a Republican, but he has been a Republican who has done a good job, big picture, on the coronavirus, and he's doing a lot of the right things. So if I wanted to criticize, certainly he could have started stay at home a little earlier. He could have talked about the importance of wearing masks earlier. But Massachusetts is one of the few states that has actually gotten the virus what we would call under control as of right now. And this may change as cases continue to explode in many states. My belief is that at some point, because you can't block travel between states, or at least it doesn't appear as though you can because of the Constitution, we are going to have a bleed over effect. I am fully expecting that as we get into late summer and early fall, Massachusetts will start to see more cases. But as of right now, we've seen dramatic declines in cases, and much of it has been under or related to Republican Governor Charlie Baker's leadership. And likewise, we now have a statewide vote by mail, which is extremely important and completely and obviously logical given the coronavirus pandemic. The Secretary of State website now says, quote, in July, meaning yesterday, a new law was passed to allow registered voters in Massachusetts to vote by mail in any 2020 election with no excuse needed. As required by the new law, a vote by mail application will be mailed to every person who was registered to vote by July 1 and who had not already requested an absentee ballot for the state primary or for all elections this year. A second mailing will be sent out in September to all voters who have not already applied for vote by mail for the November election. The applications are pre-addressed to your local election official and no postage is necessary. So they're not just sending ballots around. The fear mongering from the Trumpian right is if you just start sending ballots places, anybody could fill them in and return them and voter fraud and blah, 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 all that stuff. The reality is what they're doing is they're taking the list of registered voters and sending them applications for absentee ballots, which you still must return. They must be delivered to the local election office no later than 4 business days before the election. This is the right move. This is simple. Just do it. Come on, states, just do it. It's the right thing to do. It's the safe thing to do. And the problem is, great, Massachusetts is doing it. Biden's going to win Massachusetts easily. In other words, what I mean is the states that will be close, where people may be scared to vote in person because of the pandemic, those are the states where you might actually see a different outcome if there isn't vote by mail. And many of those are the states that are not interested in doing vote by mail. Now, fortunately, there are important states that have done it. I believe Pennsylvania and Ohio, Arizona, Texas has temporarily said fear of catching the virus counts as a valid reason to vote absentee, maybe Iowa. But this needs to be something every state does. And in fact, when we look at Trump careening downhill in the polls and we look at everything that's going on, his reelection depends on, yes, lying about the state of the economy, lying about the state of the pandemic, but it also depends on suppressing the vote, and not allowing vote by mail is something that could, in very material terms, dissuade people from voting at all. Back to Charlie Baker in Massachusetts, just a little bit, because I anticipate some of the emails I might receive. I have no delusions that Charlie Baker is the height of progressivism. He's a former health insurance CEO. He's like a Mitt Romney type Republican, essentially. But it shouldn't be unusual that you have a governor who listens to doctors and science. In other words, what's notable about the fact that Charlie Baker, a Republican governor, has mostly handled the virus correctly is that it is unusual to have a Republican governor who says, I'm going to do what the doctors recommend. We have a pandemic. I'm going to make decisions based on science and the medical community. I'm going to close things. I'm going to allow vote by mail for everybody. The reason that this is newsworthy, the reason that I'm talking in these terms of we have a Republican governor who has actually managed this pretty well, is that it's so rare. When you look at governors like Ron DeSantis in Florida, I mean, just off the deep end, Greg Abbott in Texas. And in particular, Abbott has come back to reality a little bit, saying we need masks. We should probably slow down or stop on bars. The lieutenant governor there, Dan Patrick, has been particularly crazy. You've got Doug Ducey in Arizona and many, many others. That is why it is so notable that a Republican governor like Charlie Baker has done the right thing. Now, I have some criticisms of what Charlie Baker is doing. I believe it is too early to do indoor dining. Phase 3 in Massachusetts includes casinos and movie theaters. I just disagree. I'm not going to any of those. I've decided I'm comfortable with outdoor dining right now. I'm not going inside. I mean, it's not necessary. It's summer. There are articles that are linking card present restaurant receipts to increased case numbers. So it does seem like the indoor dining is a problem. I think it's an unnecessary risk right now, particularly when we don't. I mean, listen, there may not even be a gap between wave 1 and 2, but we're anticipating more cases in the fall. So I disagree with Baker on that. I think it's too early. Big picture, managing it well. Vote by mail for everybody in Massachusetts. Absolutely the right decision. I'm glad to see it. We now just need states where it'll be close between Trump and Biden to adopt it as well.